Hello and welcome. It is open Q&A time, but it's also a focus session, this session. So grab yourself a seat. Welcome, Celine. Good to see you here. Grab yourself a seat, pen, paper, shut off any other distraction. We are here for a fun time together. Now we're going to be together for about 50 minutes, 50. And during this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how easy it is to be an author, create a book, multiple ways to create a book, and how it can lead to you having a quantum leap in your life, or you creating a source or multiple sources of income, if that's something that you desire to create. So hi, Pamela. Hi, Dora. Good to see you guys here. And we are going to be covering off this session. It's 3 o'clock here in the East Coast. Hello, Happy Face. Well, hello to you, Happy Face. Okay, what I'd like you to do, thank you, Trace. What I'd love for you to do is, Celine, if you could post both on the Instagram page and on the Facebook page, the link that will offer everyone a free download. We've actually created something for you, and you're the first to hear about it right here. I think we just announced it to our own email list, our subscriber list. And so it is a book that you can download right away called Manifest My Bestseller. Manifest My Bestseller. And so the link has just been posted here on Instagram. And the link is manifestmybestseller.com/free book. Or is it free ebook? Hold on a second here. Free book. Free book. There we go. And so there is a link on Facebook. There's a link on Instagram as well, where you can download a copy of this brand new book. It's just been released a matter of minutes ago. So take a look at that later. You can download it now, or go and enter your name and email address in it now. And you can take a look at it after we've done our webinar here together, or our live session here together. Because what I want to do today is I really want to open up your consciousness. I want you to sit back and really be open and willing to hear what I have to say in this next little while, because there's so many different ideas and so many different ways that you can become an author, that you can build a source or multiple sources of revenue that you may or may not have even thought of. Because what stops many people from even writing their book, and it was certainly something that held me back before, I mean, many, many years ago. I wrote my first book about 20 years ago. But even before that, if the thought had come into my mind to write a book or become an author, right behind, like almost on the heels of that thought of being an author, came the next thought of, who the heck do you think you are? Who would want to read anything that you want to write? And you know nothing about that industry. So I did not, as you know, I mean, this was the 16th or 17th. What number of book is this, Trace? I'm not even sure what number of book it is. I think it's book number 17. So obviously I did not allow my paradigms to hold me back. And I want you to realize that you don't need to allow your paradigms to hold you back from experiencing success as well. 17. Thank you, Trace. I appreciate that. So if there is, there's a little twinkling of something within you that caused you to pay attention or be here, I want to talk to you about just how easy it is for you to create a book and how important it is to get it out there in the world. Now, there are many different reasons why people write books, and I'm going to share with you my own story and my own reasons why I wrote a book. So the reason why I was even inspired with the idea to write a book in the first place is because at the time that the thought entered my mind, entered my consciousness to become an author, I had already been studying personal development at that point for about 20 years. It's been 40 now. And I remember thinking that out of all the hundreds and hundreds of books that I had read on personal development, and all the programs that I had gone through and invested in, and all the materials that I had studied, all the audios that I had listened to over the period of that 20-year period, that I realized that many of the teachers that are out there, and not all, but many of the teachers, there was a couple things that were challenged that I found. One was that a lot of the stuff, a lot of the material that had been out there in the world seemed complicated. It's like, I don't understand. It just didn't seem like a simple approach. And yet, within me, I knew it was simple if we understood it and we applied. And so that was the one reason I wanted to take what seemed to be overly complex and distill it into something that the layman can understand, that's very simple, that I could bring to the world, that could really make a difference in people's lives. So that was my first motivation for writing my first book. The second reason was because I wanted to give people practical steps, how to. And it's not enough to just know this material or know these materials. What's really important for you to really get results is, what do you do with it, right? What's the next step? And then what's the next step? And then what's the next step? And so I decided that I would commit myself to helping people not only get the understanding in a very simplistic level so that they have the layman's terms understanding, but to also take them by the hand and walk them through the steps. And so if you had heard, or I had heard in the past, like people saying, okay, so what you need to do in order to produce different results is you have to have faith. You have to understand that whatever it is that you desire is already yours. So you have to believe in what's called the unseen. Well, what does it mean to believe in the unseen? Well, that can be a real challenge. It is a challenge for most people to believe in the unseen. So what does that really involve? It means that you have to conjure up images in your mind to create the emotions in your physical body so that you produce the results that you want. Based on what? An idea, multiple ideas that you're grabbing out of the ether? Yes. And so for me, coming from this environment where I was poor, raised in an abusive, dysfunctional, poor family, to create a phenomenal life that I'm now blessed to live, I had to do exactly that. I had to believe in the unseen. I had to build the faith. And faith is like an emotional muscle that if we're not working it, it gets flabby and it gets sloppy, right? We want to build the faith within us to know that whatever it is that we desire is already here. So those were my big motivators. It's like, okay, I want to help people understand and I want to help people apply. And so I became an author. Now, even though the paradigms were, speaking to me and telling me why it wasn't going to work or why it wasn't going to work for me, I did not listen to them. I was ignoring that. And I made a decision that I would create success as an author, regardless of what I had gone through, regardless of where I came from, and that I really believed that I had something to say. Okay, so Claire, I'm not sure what your question is there. Maybe you can help us understand that. I'd love to answer it. So what I want to talk about today is how easy it is to become an author. And, I was thinking about you guys this morning, and as we were coming up to the 3 p.m. Eastern time and this webinar, this live event that I'm doing here with you. And I was reading a book this morning in my study time, a book that is a Neville Goddard book. It's actually in the other room right now. And it's a book called Unlimited Potential. I was actually having lunch with Bob Proctor last week, and I was talking to him about this book, Unlimited Potential. Now, it's a book that says Neville Goddard, Unlimited Potential, but it's not a book that Neville wrote. What it is, it's a book that some guy named Mitch had gone and gathered a lot of different materials from Neville Goddard, including transcripts from some of Neville's speeches and public presentations. And what he did was he put them in as like a collective edition of some of Neville Goddard's best work into this book called Unlimited Potential. But there's a different name on the cover. It's a guy by the name of Mitch, and I don't remember his last name right now. I didn't buy it because of him. I bought the book because of Neville Goddard, and I love to study Neville Goddard. So I don't know what Mitch did to get the rights to use Neville Goddard's work. Whether he did obtain the rights to get Neville Goddard's work. But I do know this. If there is information that's out in the world in what's called public domain, that means no one owns the rights to it. And it is something that you believe would be very valuable to others. You can actually go get work from, hi Tammy, you can go and get these works from the public domain and you can bring them to the world. And I remember years ago when I first got into internet marketing, and I was one of the early adopters in the internet marketing space, there was a gentleman who found a book by a philosopher that was deceased from this earthly plane many years ago. And this individual went and got his book as from the public domain and created it as a lead generator. So he said, if you want an electronic copy of this book, you can come to my website and download a free copy of this book. And then what he did was he sold his own program. And so in that particular case, here's an example of an author who has actually taken public domain information, books that were written by people that are dead, long gone from this planet, and they're using that for their own benefit to either grow their email list or to make money from selling the book. And so is that something that anyone can do? Absolutely, it's something that anyone can do. But not everybody believes that. Not everybody knows it. All right, so that is one way of creating content for a book. But anytime you're thinking about writing a book, the place where you should start from is, what do you want to write about? And whether it's fiction or nonfiction, same thing. What do you want to write about? I recently had a friend of mine who's been a nonfiction writer for many years send me her fiction book, and it's really well done. And the truth is, there are a number of people, individuals, that are either here on the earth today or passed on that have earned truckloads of money, millions upon millions and millions of dollars selling nonfiction books. But there's also a number of people that have sold fiction books and earned millions and millions and millions of dollars in earnings. And so if earning money is something that you would love to do, it's absolutely possible. I remember in 2012, I was doing a program called Making a Million Look Small. And one of the presentations, we did these programs as live events. We did these programs as an online event. And one of the programs that we did, I did a presentation for 1 hour, and all I presented on were authors that have earned $100 million or more. $100 million or more. I remember another time doing a presentation on kids, like kids and teenagers or preteens that had earned millions of dollars with online marketing ideas. And the point is, Making a Million Look Small was really about, there's so many ways to earn money that we haven't even thought of yet. And we'll see things that occur or appear online and we'll think, dang, why didn't I think of that, right? Same thing with a book, and anybody can write a book. So you start with thinking about, what would I love to write about? There was a question actually that was submitted in advance for our call today that Celine has sent over to me, and I'm just going to read it for you so that, and I answer it for you. She says, it's from Emil, E-M-E-L. It says, I have many ideas and subjects for writing a book. How can I choose and begin to write? The book series will get more traction and okay, sorry, that was something else. Okay, so how many ideas and subjects for writing a book? How can I choose and begin to write? Okay, great question. So the answer to that is, what are you personally passionate about? What are you personally passionate about? That's really important. You've got to think about what you personally are very, very passionate about, and that's what you want to write about. So it could be a subject that you've personally been studying. It could be a nonfiction or a fiction book. You could just make something up. We all have imagination. We all have creativity. You could certainly just make up a fiction idea. You know, when I was reading this book recently, that a friend of mine, and as I mentioned to you a minute ago, I have a friend that's just recently written a fiction book, but that's not her area of expertise. She has studied nonfiction, has written many nonfiction books over the years. This is her first fiction book. Excuse me. But it's very well done. And the reason why it's so well done is because it's partially based on some of her own experiences. And, but she did a great job. And it's now at the point where she's shopping it to a publishing house. She's got some people interested. She's looking at having it made into a movie. And so that's a potential opportunity for any fiction author to go that way. Now, nonfiction, a book has so many benefits to being if you're an entrepreneur. A book will have people recognize you as an expert, regardless of even them reading your book. It's a very beneficial thing. And it can lead to business. It can lead to sales if you do it the right way. And of course, we teach the right way. And so the creation process of writing the book can start with something as simple as determining what are you going to write about. So the question that was asked earlier, you got to think about, what do you love? You can write about anything you want, but what are you personally passionate about? So if you get a bunch of different ideas, which one of those ideas appeals to you most? It's simple. It really is simple. Which one of those ideas appeal to you most? So yes, I have 17 books. Obviously, they're all subjects that I'm very personally interested in and passionate about. And I've been writing. I've been writing and teaching these materials. Like I've got a book called On Being the Creator of Your Destiny. That was my very first book. It's now out of print, but I wanted to write that book because I want to teach people how and help them understand how they are a creator in their results, right? And if they want to create different results, how do they do that? So that's why I wrote the first book. The second book was based on a program that I was teaching, and that book's called The 8 Proven Secrets to Smart Success. And then I realized, as an author, if you're not a dog with a bone, if you don't grab on tight to your dream and don't let go, there's going to be a lot of people that come along, they try and take it away from you, or you drop it, you just lose faith. And I was listening to Napoleon Hill lectures the other day, and Napoleon Hill was saying one of the reasons, and there's a number of reasons, but one of the reasons why people never achieve their goals is because they give up on them. Right? And that could be the same thing with an author. Like you think, oh, I'd really love to write a book, but you give up on the idea, or you give up on yourself. I know a number of people that have started to write books and never did anything with them. So you can't, yeah, it is the truth, Tammy. You just can't give up, right? You can't give up on yourself. So, and you got to keep going. So it's not that difficult. You got to realize this is really key, is that when you're writing a book, you're having a relationship with another person. Now, whether there's going to be millions of people buying your book or 183,000 people buying your book, it's still a one-to-one relationship. You, the writer, and the reader. The other thing to keep in mind is you could be the crappiest writer in the world. You could just be like just horrible, horrible writer. However, it doesn't matter, because there are these wonderful people out there in the world called editors. And you can get an editor to edit your work and have you look fabulous, right? Another idea, and I want to throw this out there in the world, is that if you believe you're a great writer, you can become a great writer. You got to believe it. You got to believe it and believe it and believe it wholeheartedly. Also, great writers are also great readers. So if you're interested in writing books, start reading more, because that actually will stimulate you and it'll have you see flows. So, and that would work with nonfiction or fiction. So if you have a favorite author, or you have someone that you really appreciate and you value, you could read their books and use their books. So you could just sit down, you could do an outline for your program, and you could just simply start to write. About an hour ago, I was having lunch with Brian Proctor, who's a very good friend of mine and a co-author of mine. We wrote a book together called Darn Easy. And the subtitle for Darn Easy is Work Half as Hard and Earn Twice as Much While Living the Life of Your Dreams. And that's something else you could do. You could co-author a book with another. But I do want to make a suggestion for you when you're going to co-author. Whoever you're going to co-author a book with, ensure that you trust that person, that it's thank you, Amy, that it's someone that you believe that you can work really well with. Now, I've known Brian now for almost 40 years. I met Brian Proctor when I was attending one of Bob Proctor's seminars in the early 80s. So I've known him a long time. We're good friends. I totally trust him. I have no issue with trust as it relates to that. And so Brian and I sat down together, and it started with a conversation like this. Hey, we should write a book together. Okay, that sounds good. What would we write about? And when you're thinking about what would we write about, obviously it's something you're passionate about. And the next thing is it something that other people would want, right? In other words, you got to think. You got to think about what are people hungry for out there in the world. And Brian and I both live a very relaxed life. We've got wonderful balance in our life. And so when we sat down and thought, what do we share in common? What are we both passionate about? What do we have that is something that people would really want? Well, we know that what we have is this philosophy, this understanding, this discipline to work half as hard and earn twice as much. And we've consistently done that, taken our results up and up and up and up and up. And we will continue to do that. And so we made a decision that we would write a book called Darn Easy, Work Half as Hard, Earn Twice as Much While Living the Life of Your Dreams. But in the process of planning to do this book together, we found that neither one of us really wanted to do the writing. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not really a big fan of writing, and Brian has never really been a fan of writing. So then we regrouped and we got back together, and I said, well, how about if we do this? How about if we teach a course? Because I love doing courses. I mean, I would do courses all day long, all night long, every day, 365 or 366, because this year we got a leap year, days a year. I love doing courses. I love teaching. So we decided, well, let's create a course based on this idea, based on this understanding. And and then we will, I'm just laughing because I had made the reservation with Open Table, and a little flash came on my phone and it said, how was your meal? And I thought at first it was a question that someone on the call was asking, and I realized it was Open Table that was asking, how was your meal? So Brian and I decided we'll do this course called Darn Easy, Work Half as Hard, Earn Twice as Much while living the life of your dreams. So we created a course. And then what we did, and it was easy for both of us to talk about the concepts of the course. So we did an outline. We decided who was going to teach what, and we were both going to teach together. And we promoted it as a course. We had a lot of people sign up for the program, and then we delivered it on the internet. And Brian was at his home and I was at my home, and we delivered it together online. And we had it all transcribed. And once we had it transcribed, we used the transcription as the basis for the content of the book. And that is one of my absolute favorite ways to create content for books. And I've done it on many occasions with many of my books. And even the book, the one that we're just released today, called Manifest My Bestseller. It's a brand new book that you can download right here. The link was posted. As a matter of fact, Celine, if you don't mind posting that link again, I'd really appreciate it. So those that are just getting on Instagram can have a copy of it. And those of you, I think the ones on Facebook, you can see the link there. I just posted it again. And so that you can download a copy of that book. And so you can download a copy of that book, and that is based on a lot of the content that I've been delivering over the years in my programs, which I constantly update. I'm always keeping things on top, whatever is happening in the industry, where me and my team, we keep our hand on the pulse of what's happening in the internet. And so I've been involved in internet marketing now since 1990. Well, the 1995 is when I incorporated, actually 94 is when I incorporated the company, and I set up my website in 1995. One of the very, very first adopters to the World Wide Web. And I've literally watched it like a parent watching a child grow. That's what's occurred for me, just watching this World Wide Web just continue to expand and evolve, and more people get online, and we're now at 4 billion people online today. And e-commerce. I was one of the first adopters and adapters to e-commerce. And so e-commerce just continues to grow. I mean, remember when it started, and I actually had hired someone and had him program a shopping cart for me, a secure shopping cart, because they weren't even available when I started marketing online. So I started selling things online. I remember when people go to my website to buy my programs or to sign up for coaching or to buy my books, because I had self-published my first 3 books, and people would come to the website and they could see it was a secure checkout experience. And that was all new way back when. But I was there, I was one of the early folks to really get involved in this. And the only reason why I mention it is because we're here today. It is today, January 13th, 2020. And here we are. Like, it was 25 years ago that I started marketing online. And I don't think there's anyone on this call who was marketing online 25 years ago, except maybe my business partner, Trace Haskins, because he started at a very young age. And he's a young guy, but he started very, very young, and he was sort of drawn to it. It's like it probably was like a mesmerizing thing that sucked him in. He was so intrigued by all of that, and he started his own business. And I think he was 13 at the time that he started it. So he was online early as well, which I love, because we've watched and been a big part of this evolution of this internet thing. And the reason why I'm mentioning that today, as we're talking about the multiple easy ways it is, there we go, 1995. Wow, look at that. Trace says, I built my first site in 1995 too. That's pretty darn cool. And so the reason we're talking about it today is that I really believe with my whole heart now is the absolute best time to become an author. It's also the easiest time to become an author. You can write a book so easily now. You can get it self-published and make it available online. You can earn the majority of the profit. You don't even have to put it up on any website out there in the world. You could just sell it from your own website and make money. You don't even have to put it into a printed edition. It could be just an electronic copy of the book, and you could sell it that way. And if you're someone who loves to speak, and you could talk your book as well. You could speak your book. I mean, there's so many easy ways, but you've got to decide what it is you want to write about. Where is there a need in the marketplace? And you've got to think about, what do you have to share? What do you have of value? And I'm certain you have something. Everyone has their own experiences. Everyone's gone through this life in their own way, and everyone has something to bring to the universe. Yeah, Amy says, I've only been making money online since 2014, but it feels like a long time. That's pretty awesome. Good for you. That's good for you. So whether you've been at it a long time or whether it's a short time, I believe now is the time. Now is the time to share what you have with the world. You can do it so easily. Download my free ebook, Manifest Your Bestseller. There's a lot of great tips in there, a lot of great ideas in there that'll definitely get you going in the right way. And of course, we have a program as well, if you want to join, and it's either whether you've already written your book or whether you haven't written your book. So for those of you that are on the call right now, we've got a number of people that are here. I want to see if there's any questions that I can address for you as it relates to being an author. That's what we're here talking about today. This particular session has been designed to talk about you being an author and what do you really need to know in order to create success. And thank you, Tammy. I'm happy you showed up. Thank you. You're so sweet. All right, so while we're waiting to see if there's any more questions, I want to give you some more tips and some more guidelines for writing your book and getting it out there in the world. So I talked about a number of different ways. What are the ways that I've already talked about? One way is that you sit down and you start writing, right? You create an outline and you just start to write. Thing to keep in mind when you're writing is people love stories. So the more you have stories, the better it's going to go for you and for your readers as well. Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. I see some questions coming in. Another thing that you can do is you can just teach a course and then have that become recorded and transcribed, and that can become content for a book. Another way is to simply speak it. You can record it. You can even do something where there's a software called Dragon where you can record and it writes as you're recording. Okay, Heather says, I know you said you only have to feel it, and I do, but you also said work harder than anyone, but you also work harder than anyone I know. So I'm torn between manifesting it in my thoughts versus working extremely hard in marketing it. That is a great question. Thank you so much, Heather, for asking that question. And I think you're not alone, Heather. I think there are a lot of people that are confused of what does it really mean to work harder. I would say that it's not necessarily, I think people get confused with, I'm not saying work harder, like just sweating, like just sweat your butt off, if you will, out there slaving and working hard. I'm talking about being disciplined in what you are doing, and that the things that you're doing every day are actually taking you further in the direction of where you want to go. But one thing you want to be very aware of is, are you doing things that are actually producing results that you want? Now, in the beginning, you might not know. It might be just an instinctual answer. Am I doing the things that are really taking me to where I want to go? Well, I'll tell you how you know. You know by how you feel. If you're feeling like it's done and it's here now, then yes, you've got the alignment. But the other part, it's like a missing link, if you will. The other part is, yes, we got to be taking action. We've got to be actively out there doing things that are going to be promoting ourselves, building our brand, building our awareness, or not only our awareness, but building the awareness of who we are out there in the world, and building our awareness, like studying as well. So part of my day, including the disciplines that I do from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to bed, includes study, like study time. And you're here on this call here together. I would call this study time because I'm teaching. Right? We're in a study and experience here. And in about an hour from now, or less than an hour from now, I'm going to be on a call with all of our clients. Trace and I have clients in a program called $1 Million in a Month. $1 million in a month. These are people that want to earn money, big money. You can call it big money if you want. I wouldn't call $1 million a month big money. To me, it's small, but it's all relative, right? Only thinking makes it so. If you're earning $100 million a month, to me, that would be big money. So $1 million a month is a program that we do. So part of the work is studying. It's practicing the feeling states, increasing the intensity of you feeling and knowing that whatever it is that you already desire is already yours. And as an author, and we're here talking about authorhood or authorship, if you will. And part of being an author is you've got to be, if you're thinking about writing a book, you set a deadline for when you're going to get done. And then you work away at it every single day. I was talking to a friend earlier today, as a matter of fact, who is writing a book and almost done. And this person told me that they get up at 5 a.m. And this is what I did. And this is what I teach. They get up at 5 a.m. and they wrote for an hour. That's great. That's one way of getting it done. So that's the discipline. So is that the work? Yes. And then, of course, once you get your book done, you want to learn how to effectively market it, which, of course, is what I teach, as you know. And there's a lot to that. And as Heather, I'm sure you've heard me say that one of the greatest lessons that I learned as an author was very early in the game. And it was a lesson that went something like this. If you're an author and you finished your book or publish your book, 5% of your job is done. 95% of an author's responsibility is the marketing. If you really want to get your book out there in the world, you've got to be marketing. And not just a little bit, a whole lot. When's it going to take off? You don't know. So what do, Heather? Well, you connect to the outcome and you see your book as a big success as you desire it to be. You see it now in advance. You stay connected to that. You stay connected to it every single day, whatever your disciplines are, whether you're writing in your gratitude journal, whether you're reading affirmations, whether you're listening to your Power Life script, whatever you're doing, you're staying connected to that. And then you're out there in the world promoting, following along with the complete author program as I teach on how you can build your following, how you can promote your book, how you can do bestseller campaign, and you can do one every week if you want. I had one client doing one a month until he had sold hundreds of thousands of copies of his book. And so we just keep going. It's like that expression, how long do we give the average baby until they walk? We give them until they walk, right? And so it's like our success, like how long do we give it until we're successful? Until we're successful. And it's not that you quit or you give up once you're there. We just got to keep going, right? Because we're all about greater expansion, fuller expression, creating more. It's a natural thing to do. But the work is kind of like twofold. The work is here. It's on us, on our consciousness, on our awareness, on our subconsciousness, on our feeling states. And the work is also the doingness, right? The doingness of what do we need to be doing in order to create the results that we want. We want to make sure that we're doing all those things and as many things as we possibly can in order to get there. And Heather, you're in the right place because you're in the program already. Okay, next question is, Monica says, do you suggest a certain outline to write a book? I love that you're asking that question, Monica, because a lot of people assume that there's only one way. There is not. And I think the best thing that you can do for you or your book is to have it be your own style, your own creative way. So and now I talk about it, there's, like I read a book the other day that had 20 some odd chapters. And then I've read other books that has 8 chapters. And one of my books has 33 chapters. Another one has 12 chapters. It's what makes sense for the content of the book. So when you decide you're going to write a book and you start to create the ideas behind it. So if I decided today, I'm going to do a book on, let's see, the greatest disciplines for success. And I just pulled that out of the air, by the way. So what are the greatest disciplines for success? Well, I would start to think about what are the disciplines that I've incorporated in my life that have really made a big difference. So it would be a discipline of commitment. And what do I mean by that? Like where you're committing to, like where you actually sign maybe some kind of a commitment sheet, a declaration saying, I'm doing this. That could be a level of discipline. Another one would be the discipline of gratitude, which I've become accustomed to. I'm disciplined to gratitude every single day. Another discipline would be affirmations, but not just any affirmations, specific affirmations that are building the muscles, the emotional muscles, in order to produce the outcomes that are desired. Another one would be the Power Life script process. Another one would be the discipline of of learning techniques to take away distractions, or when you get distracted, how to get yourself back. That can be a discipline. The discipline of eating healthy, the discipline of investing quality time with your family and friends, the discipline of money, financial success. What are those? So if I was going to write a book on the greatest disciplines for success, I would start by thinking, is this something that people would really want? Yes, I believe it is. Is this something that I would love to write? Yes, I believe I would. And then I started thinking, what are my disciplines? I started writing them down. Now I came up with a few, I don't know how many there are. I'm certain that if I sat here after my next couple of calls, that if I sat here, I could come up with an outline. And then once I'd have that outline, then I would expand on each of the ideas. And then within a very short period of time, I'd have that book written. Boom, just like that. That's how fast it could happen, just by making that decision. So the outline comes down to the theme of the book. So what are you writing about? And then thinking of content, what you want to include in that. And you just do like what I call a brain dump, like just idea dump. You just write it all down, and then you organize it into a structure that makes sense for the content. And then you'd have an outline for your book. Now, what a lot of this involves, a lot of the creative process of writing a book involves common sense. Now, common sense doesn't seem to be that common, but it definitely involves common sense. So if you can apply some common sense to all of this, I'm certain you can come up with something that's rather extraordinary. Woohoo! All right, great. Okay, cool. So Heather says, for the record, I'm working hard, but everyone is telling me I'm nuts that I want to sell 10,000 books in a week. Hey, well, won't they be smiling when you do it? I love it. And I love your book. Engaging a lot on Instagram, Facebook, more than I was comfortable in the past, but I'm doing. Okay, so one of the things that I say in my author program is that every single author should be building their own email list. So it's not enough to just do Instagram or to do Facebook. You got to be sending people back to your website. You got to be creating your own email list. So do things like that. If someone pulled the plug on Instagram today, boom, all that following would be gone. If someone pulled the plug on Facebook, I don't think that's going to happen, but you want to have them on your website where you're able to communicate with them as well. I'm not saying don't do Instagram or don't do Facebook. Yes, do Instagram. Yes, do Facebook, but also get your own email list going as well. How do you do that though, Peggy? How do you do what, Tammy? How do you do what? And the details of this I do cover off in the complete author program. And you can go to Trace or Celine, if you guys don't mind putting the link in there for the new complete author program, because that's what the details, like the finite details. Actually, I don't know how many webinars. I think there are more than 50 training classes in that program. So that's what I'm talking about, is going through that in the detail. I'm not sure. Tammy says, I seem to have been shut off my Facebook and Instagram once I said I was going into business. I'm not sure why that is or what that is. Maybe there was something there that they felt it was too promotional or whatever. I don't know. And that's the other thing to think about, is that when we look at, oh, I seem to see. Okay. Anyways, one of the things that I notice about social media is it's a wonderful place to, thank you, Celine. It's a wonderful place to socialize. It really is. And if you want to find out what's going on with your niece, that's what I do. I go to social media, right? You want to see some photos from the event that happened last weekend, or the party or whatever, you can probably go there and see some photos. Well, which will align with my purpose and desire to set up MSIs. I know I'd be more effective if I focus on one at a time, but I'm okay with going slower and consistent. That's Mind Muscle CA. I have a few projects going on which all fall in line with my purpose and desire to set up MSIs. I know I'd be far more effective if I'd focus on one at a time, but I'm going to go going slower and consistent. Well, not necessarily. What you may want to do is get some additional people on board to work with you, and okay, thank you. Get, I don't know, like slow down, calm down, maybe. I know Bob talks about that. Just be more relaxed. You know, if you sound like you're a doer, you sound like somebody who likes to get things done. And I have multiple projects going on at any one time. I mean, we've got a whole bunch of new ideas that we're playing with. We've got a high-end program we're looking to launch soon. I've got an event coming up We just got this new ebook. So I got multiple things going on at any one time. So I don't think that doesn't necessarily mean you can't do multiple things at one time to MSIs. The other thing is that you'll find when you're creating MSIs, and this is something we talk about in the Million in a Month program, is that if you've ever seen a horse race, maybe you haven't been to a horse race, but you've seen it on TV perhaps, where you've got, let's say, 10 horses that are at the gate and they're all lined up, right? They're all lined up and they're ready to go. And it's like you'll hear the announcer go, they're at the gate, they're off, and then off they go. So the horses are all running down the track and they're going to their destination. They're all going to the same destination. But what you'll see is that you'll see one horse just sometimes just take right off. And then every once in a while, you'll see a horse that just coming from behind and they develop this steam or something's going on within them and they pass all the other horses and they end up winning. That can happen with MSIs as well, where you'll find that you get multiple MSIs that are going in a different direction. All of a sudden, one of them takes off, or maybe a couple of them or a bunch of them take off as well. Natalie says, thank you so much for all your advice, Peggy. I have to work on my website, have Instagram and Facebook, but been told don't need to make a website by family. I'm going to do it. Oh God, that's so scary. You know, the thing is that you got to really notice where you're getting advice from as well. Like, you know, people think, and I see this and I hear it all the time. Where you want to get advice is from people that are doing what you want to do, people that have already created the success. Those are the ones you want to listen to. Those are the ones that you want to get advice by. And I was actually having lunch with Brian Proctor today, and we're talking about that. We're talking about the number of people that just, you know, put their flag in the ground. It's like they're claiming their place online as if they're experts or whatever, and they've never really done anything, right? They're not successful. And I was saying to Brian that recently there's a guy online, I won't say his name, but there's a gentleman online who is promoting himself as this internet marketing guru. And he did a promotional video and he actually rented a house. It wasn't his own. He rented a house, shot the video, but he comes off as if it's his home. And it isn't. And that's just deceitful, right? It's just not the truth. And of course, you certainly don't want to be operating that way as well. Excuse me. Okay, so mindmuscle.ca says, thank you. How do you handle feeling overwhelmed if or when you have so much going on? That's a great question, and I totally understand overwhelm. I believe I've become much better at managing overwhelm now than I ever have, and that is I create a very laser focus on outcomes, and it could be multiple outcomes, but I'm laser focused on those. And so, you know, sometimes it comes down to taking some deep breaths and relaxing and connecting to what is it that you would love. And then thinking, using your mind, right? What else can I do? Talking to your mentor if you have one, doing some research online, going to an event, like just studying. Those are things that help get out of overwhelm anytime I've entered into that space. Stay focused on what you want and then get into creative mode and start doing things that are going to take you in the direction that you want to go. All right, let's see if there's any other questions, and if not, that's okay. We're going to call it a wrap for today. We are going to be back together, let's see, in 2 days, same time. I want to talk about the money earning side of being an author. So we're going to do another special event on Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And whether you're an author or not, still come to this event. I want to talk about the money side, the money earning opportunity, the multiple ways that you can earn money as an author. So I believe we're going to call it a wrap for today. And I'm going to be back with you on Wednesday. It's 2 days from now, the 15th of January. And actually, Natalie, I'm going to answer your question first and then see you guys at 3 o'clock. So Natalie is saying, is it smart to translate your books into multiple languages? First of all, I would not translate my own books. Wait until you get requests from foreign rights to translate your book. Don't do it yourself. When your book's out there in the world and it's going really, really well and it's successful, then you will have foreign rights translators come to you. So I would not pursue translation of my book. Unless you want to do it in that language and it's your native language, then maybe you want to translate it. And if so, great, you could translate it. Okay, everyone, good to see you guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again in 2 days.